Good morning, everyone. Welcome back. A few people wrote in and they wanted to know what it's like for me before I do a reading. What do I feel? What do I see? What it's like? What is the process that happens for me? And I like to do readings morning and evening. I'm not like some of the charlatans out there that the house has to be dark and one candle lit, and because spirit only comes out at night. Spirit comes out when spirit comes out. They're just like you and I. They just live in another dimension of here. That's it. So for me, if I have a reading, as an example, say 7 o'clock at night, which is the time that I choose to do my night readings. Sometimes throughout the day, I'll get little bits of information that will come in. It's soul to soul communication. So I do this a lot because it comes in on the right side, because that's where the soul resides, in the right side of the brain. So once in a while I'll hear something, it'll come in, a thought will come in. That's my clairaudient ear, a thought, and a thought will come in, and I'll write down different things that I hear, or if my attention is brought to something throughout the day, I will make note of that because my attention is brought to that. When I'm preparing for a reading, I always sit and pray and meditate. I do the Divine Mercy Chaplet is my Catholic roots, my Catholic connection. So it's a prayer that's said on the rosary. It's like the rosary, but not the rosary. I'll do that and I'll meditate and I'll receive information during that time, and very often spirit energies will step in and I will begin to see, and I will write down descriptions of what I see. So almost every time that someone comes, I already have 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 pages of information before they even come. And generally speaking, I usually have, I'd say 95% of the time, the first name that I get is the name of the deceased loved one, who they hope to connect with. So, that's the way it works for me. I don't do anything different before that. I go about my day like everyone else. But because I do what I do, and because of my strong connection to God and Spirit, throughout my day, I will get, now and then a little piece of information, or like I say, my attention will be brought to something. Very often when I'm praying and meditating and preparing for a reading, I always keep a channel on the TV. There's a television that hangs on the wall in my center, and I always keep on the channel. It's called Soundscape, and it's just soft meditative music. And every once in a while, they'll bring my attention to the screen, and I'll look at the television, which is on the opposite side of where I'm sitting, where my chair is, where I do my readings. And if my attention goes to the screen, I will always write down, because there's always a song playing. So they'll give the name of the person who wrote the song and the year that the song was created, was put out. And I'll always write down, when my attention is brought to the television, I'll write down the name of the person and the year. And then in the reading, I will say, maybe the person's name was Paul Jacobson. I'll say, okay, so I will say, do you understand the name Paul or Jacob? And they'll say, oh, my son's name was Paul, and that's why Spirit will bring my attention to that, and that's the way it works. They work with us symbolically or whatever, or maybe I'll see 1999 and I'll say, the year 1999, and they'll say, oh, that's the year that my father died, or that's the year my son was born. So I never dismiss any of these feelings that I get, or whenever my attention is brought someplace directly, I'll never, ignore that, because I understand that there is a veil between worlds, and as hard as I'm working on this side of the veil to connect with them, I know that they're working just as hard on that side of the veil to communicate and get their messages to me. Okay, so that's the way it works for me. So I hope that answers your question, and as always, I leave you in God's love and light.